Yo, what's going on, everybody? I'm Marcos from Chicago Sports Hub, and today we're going to be talking about the NBA draft. So on Thursday, we got the draft happening, which is tomorrow. So we're just going to get into like which players to look for and who I think is going to be good. You know what I'm saying? So we're just going to get into that right away. First things first, Cade Cunningham. If you don't know him, from Oklahoma State, he's 6'8", 220, 225 just about, and he's very, very good. So Cade Cunningham, he was one of the top players in his class in 2019, 2020, something like that. And he just really performed well at Oklahoma State. He attacks the rim really well. He could shoot. And the thing at being a 6'8", he can guard a lot of positions, which is really a plus in the NBA. Like Ben Simmons, 6'11", he could guard all positions. LeBron James, 6'8", 6'7", whatever. He could guard multiple positions. And he passes really well. So those guys are the same thing, like tall, could defend multiple positions. LeBron's a little older, but when he was younger, of course. But those are the comparisons I kind of see with him, like being a tall guard, but he could pass and make the right decision. I would just say about him, he needs to work on his shooting. He's not the best shooter, but with a lot of these guys, you'll notice, because they're young, they're not the really best shooters. So that's something they can improve on. So a lot of these players I have here, shooting isn't really their best thing, but that's something for sure. With shots and repetitions, like they'll be fine, and they'll be. I'm not saying they're gonna shoot like Steph, but they could, become at least decent shooters. And I would also say he admitted to turning it off during games and just zoning out, but that's just levels, and you're gonna have games where you zone out, but it's just not continually doing that. So I see him overcoming that and not being a big deal. I think Cade deserves the number one spot, and I see him going to Detroit. But personally, I don't think he's the best player in Detroit. He's one of the best. I would give him top 2, but he's not the best. And I'll get into who I think should be the top pick. But I don't want him to end up in Detroit, so I'm fine with Cade going to Detroit. But yeah, Cade deserves it for sure. Number one pick. He played solid this year. He won the Big 12. He had a great season for sure. Number 2, and who I think it should be the number one pick, but I don't think he will be, but deserves it, is Jalen Green. If you guys do not know Jalen Green, that man is a problem. But before I get into Jalen Green, I kind of forgot to talk about Cade's player comparison. I would say Paul George. And the reason I say that is because Paul George, he's not the number one option, but he can be if he needs to be. And he could dribble, he could shoot, he could defend. And I see Cade as someone like Paul George. I know you guys get crap to Paul George, about playoff P and everything like that, but he's still one of the better players in the league and definitely one of the top players, if that. So I would say Cade Cunningham for sure reminds me a bit of Paul George. And I don't know, we'll see. He'll definitely be solid in the league, no doubt about that. I wouldn't say no doubt, but he's going to be good. He's going to be good. Next up, so I said Jalen Green. Jalen Green, he opted out. He didn't play in college, so he joined the G League Ignite. And if you guys are not familiar with that, the G League Ignite is a team that the NBA made up this past year because the NCAA wasn't paying athletes. So this program would essentially pay these athletes from their class, mostly the top people of their class. So if you're a top 20 pick, you're going to join this team, or they're going to offer you to play for this team for $250,000 to $500,000 depending on the type of player you are. So he joined first year, balled out, 18 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.5 steals a game. He's 19 years old. He's really young, 6'6", athletic, bouncy. He could score at all different positions. And that's why I said his nickname is a unicorn, and I really don't have a player comparison for him because I've been on him since day one. If you guys want to invest in a player, buy their cards, rookie cards, buy Jalen Green's. I've only been all in on 4 people in my life since I really watched basketball, who I knew was going to be oh my gosh, they're next up. They're going to be a problem, huge problem. And I'm 4 for 4. I don't say this lightly. So Jalen Green will be one of the next big things for sure. He's going to be one of the top players in the NBA. No doubt about that. I'm not saying right away. I'm not saying it could, but I'm not saying all that. But I'm saying he will be one of the better players in the NBA. No doubt about that. He could dribble. He could create his own shot, especially off the bounce. I've seen a lot of times, like, he dribbles, sidesteps, 2-pointer, 3-pointer. I'm not saying he shoots like Steph. That's something he definitely needs to work on, his shooting, especially like I said earlier. A lot of these guys cannot shoot really well, but that's something they could develop. So his catch and shoot for sure needs to get better. I would say that. And also he's kind of not the best. He's not the best passer. He's a scoring guard, so I don't see that improving. Maybe a little bit, but yeah, he definitely needs to work on his defense for sure and his passing. But yeah, player comparison, I don't really have one. I would say like maybe don't get mad when I say this, but like Kobe Bryant. When Kobe Bryant came in at 18, he was bouncy. He couldn't shoot, but he could score. He's a straight scorer. And this guy reminds me, I'm not saying he has the fadeaway moves, like the footwork ethic like Kobe, but it's his play that reminds me of a lot like Kobe, his younger self. You know what I'm saying? And what he develops into after that, I'm not too sure. But he's his own player, but that's who he personally reminds me of as of now. Next up, we got Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs is from Gonzaga. If you guys remember, Gonzaga went 35-0, but lost in the national championship game to Baylor. So Jalen Suggs, 6'3", and I think he's 190, but he's really good in transition. He can score really well in transition. He doesn't avoid the contact. He likes to attack the rim and be aggressive. And if you guys didn't know, he played quarterback in high school, and he was a 5-star athlete for football and basketball. He was Mr. Football and Mr. Basketball in his state. I think it was Minnesota. Don't quote me on the state, but he was both for a state. So that is very impressive. And with that, he is a really good passer, which comes to no surprise, and his vision on the court is really well. So he's a really great player. I think he's going to be solid in the NBA as well. That's a guy who, again, I think he could be really good. I think he's a Westbrook 2.0. That's my player comparison. But for sure, he's not as out of control as Westbrook. He's more calm, but he's explosive. He can make decisions, and he's very unselfish. He always makes the extra pass 9 times out of 10, and he looks for the open man or like the right pass for sure. I would just say for him, something to work on besides the shooting, it would be like more creating his own shot, because that's something he didn't really have to do at Gonzaga. But again, he has time. He's 19. He's gonna be just fine and like work on that as well. Next up, so these next 2 picks are some people who I think are gonna fall in the draft, not because they're projected high, but who I think could be huge steals. This draft to me is really deep. There's a lot of players I could talk about, but this video will be like forever long, so I'm just like giving you my 5 players. So the top 3 for sure, they're going like top 10, maybe even top 5. But these next 2, they could be like first-round picks, or late first-round picks, mid-first-round picks, and I think you should, know their name. So next up, we got Chris Duarte. I know a lot of you guys are like, who? I don't know who that. I'm just trying to put you onto the game right now. Chris Duarte. He's from Oregon. He was shooting guard, 6'6". He's about 190, 195. But I seen him play. This man is athletic. He has a different edge to him. Like, he's very aggressive when he plays, but it's like a calm aggression. So he really has my attention. And he was projected late first-round pick, but his stock is rising. Like, now he's like projected like 15 to 20. Even like I heard a couple 13s. 14 range, but he came a long way from late first round to like moving up. I really like his game a lot. He could shoot really well. Out of all these players I'm gonna mention right now, he probably shoots the best. He shot 42% from the 3 this year. His shooting is really efficient, and he could dribble. He doesn't create his own shot like often, but he can. And I would say the things he needs to improve on are his passing, and I would say, yeah, dribbling off the bounce. But those are things like, it's not really a big deal because he's more of a combo guard. And I would say his player comparison is Lamar Odom. He would pass, dribble, score, But this guy for sure, I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar in the NBA, but I think he'll be a great role player and even like a third option like on a team, like a Chris Middleton, and he's not getting all-star nods, even though Chris got 1. But, he's someone who could score. I think that's his ceiling, you know what I'm saying? But for sure, I see him as like, 6th man of the years or like a great starting forward, like a Cam Johnson or Mikal Bridges, like players like that. You know what I'm saying? Like good in their roles, but they're not gonna be like superstars. But they're really good. I would definitely say like those are actually good player comparisons as well for him. Last but not least, Jared Butler. Jared Butler is from Butler University. He stands at what, 6'3"? Yeah, he's 6'3". And the thing about him is his draft stock kind of fell. So before I get into that, he was an All-American. You know, they won the national championship, obviously. He was the point guard for them. He could really score. He's great handling the ball. He makes the right decision. And his defense is good as well. His defense is really good. I like him a lot for sure. His defense, not the best on the team. And we'll talk about who the best on the team is too. But I like him a lot. And his stock fell because like he kind of had this, it wasn't announced what he had, but I guess there was some health condition, which now he's passed and he's good to go. So unfortunately what that does to the person's stock is like it makes them fall because now they become a liability. People don't want to waste a high pick on someone who could eventually might not be able to play basketball anymore. So he was like a top 15 pick, I would say, and now he dropped a little bit, like 18, but now it's like up to like 30, you know, and that's a big fall off. That's a lot of money you're talking about, especially when you get into contracts. But I like him a lot. You know, he shoots the three really well. He shoots really well. Like I said, he could attack the rim. He makes good decisions. Good defender. But he's not, the only thing really knock on him is like not the best. He's a good passer, but he could just be better at it, to be honest. But besides that, he's all around. He's a little small. He's 6'2". They have him listed as 6'3", but I'm pretty sure he's like 6'1", 6'2". So he could get a little bit babied in the league, but that's what it comes. And I would say his player comparison would be for sure Kyle Lowry. Not for sure, but I would say Kyle Lowry. You know, he reminds me a lot of Kyle Lowry. He shoots, defends, you know, one of the smaller guys. He's not as like big as Kyle Lowry, but you know, time in the NBA, so that's something he could work in as well, getting, you know, size to him. Last but not least, another guy who I think is not slept on, but like, you know, not getting as much noise is Davion Mitchell. So Jared Butler's teammate, Davion Mitchell, you know, if you saw him in the tournament, that boy was hooping. And he played shooting guard, but his defense is elite. Elite. Like, you got Jalen Suggs, good defender. Butler, good defender. But his defense is, like, amazing. Great defender. And I think with him, like, he'll be a great fit anywhere. Because if you could defend the ball, you could fit into anywhere. But he could score as well. People underestimate, like, his scoring. He could score at all three levels. His problem is he needs to, again, focus on shooting and his free throws. He shot 62% from the free throw line, which isn't going to do it in the NBA. But shooting-wise, like, he was okay, but he can improve as well, especially catch and shoot threes, which is something I emphasize a lot with these guys. So I would say that, but his defense is really, really good, and it's his thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what everyone looks at, his defense. You know, Jalen Green just dunking, and I would say Duarte, he could shoot, but this guy is his defense, and that's really good because he gets on ball defenders, and he reminds me a lot of Jrue Holiday. So that's my player comparison for him, Jrue Holiday for sure. Someone who could score when need be, and someone who could defend at all times and be that pesky defender. So that wraps it all up for the players who I think. So remember, Cade Cunningham, these are names I want you to remember. Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Davion Mitchell, Jalen Suggs, Jared Butler, and Chris Duarte. So those are players in the NBA draft who are coming up, so that you need to look out for. Be like, oh yeah, this guy might be good. There's plenty of other guys like Jalen Johnson, you know, there's another one, Evan Mobley. You know, those are guys as well we could talk about, but I just think these guys are like, you know, solid players that will come from this draft. And more, there'll be other ones as well, but we didn't have time for all that. But stay tuned for the draft. Comment below who you think the #1 pick or who your favorite pick is. You know, who would you select with the #1 pick, or who the best pick in the draft is. You know, and we'll come more to you with more videos, be posting about a post-draft, see who won the draft and everything like that, all right? So nice talking with y'all, and talk to you later. Peace.